Welcome back to The Exchange. As airlines try to add capacity to keep up with demand, air leasing company Aer Cap is uniquely positioned to take advantage of the rebound in travel and the lack of aircraft supply. And it's pushing the stock toward a new all-time high. Phil LeBeau joins us now with the CEO of Aer Cap, Gus Kelly. Phil and Gus, welcome.
Thank you, Kelly. Gus, I appreciate you joining us today. I'm curious, you heard Kelly set up there, and you're seeing what's happening in terms of demand around the world. What's your take as you look into 2024, especially when it comes to international travel?
Phil, it's good to be on. It's pretty robust all around the world. When it comes to international traffic out of the U.S., the biggest market in the world, the most lucrative, is the North Atlantic market. And that's still booming. We don't see that changing. But Phil, a real driver of airline profitability for the medium term is going to be the supply environment. The worst enemy of the airlines is too many seats chasing too few passengers. And so long as we have more passengers than we have seats, things are going to be fine. And the issues that the industry faces because of the production problems with Boeing, with Airbus, and then the durability of the airplanes when they get into service is, in my view, going to result in supply shortages for the rest of the decade.
You think the rest of this decade we see a supply shortage, even as we start to gradually see an increase in production from Boeing and from Airbus?
Well, Phil, they will produce more aircraft. Now, since 2018, if you just took 2018 as the regular weight production level of Boeing and Airbus, we're almost 3,000 aircraft light of that over what they've managed to produce in the last 5 years. So if they had kept 2018 production levels throughout the last 5 years, there'd be 3,000 more aircraft in the world. Bear in mind, Boeing and Airbus will only make about 1,200 aircraft a year. So even when they do get back to those levels of production, the challenge that faces the industry is the technology of these aircraft. The aircraft and the engines just do not... Say that again, Phil?
I'm sorry to interrupt you there, Angus. Are you comfortable with that technology? Or are you saying, even as you see advancements in things like fuel efficiency and lower emissions, the technology is just not developing fast enough?
It's not durable enough, Phil. It will get better. But the problem is, when the engines come off wing faster than anyone expected, the network isn't there to repair these engines, the parts aren't there to repair them, the spare engines aren't there. So at a simple level, historically you might have needed 10 aircraft to fly a certain route. Now you need 11. And in Aer Cap's position, we are the largest owner of aircraft in the world by a country mile, to be honest. We're the largest owner of spare engines in the world, and we've seen significant increases in aircraft values, lease rates. And the way the airlines are reacting, Phil, is what they're doing is they're saying to me, we need to hold on to these older aircraft for much longer than we ever thought, because we cannot rely on the durability of the new technology assets, and it's going to be a long time before Boeing and Airbus get back to the levels of production they want. So we see that lasting, as I said, for the best part of the rest of this decade.
That's fascinating, Gus. If I can just jump in and ask you one question, maybe it's relevant, maybe it's not. You know, we are in the middle of finding out what's going to happen with the JetBlue Spirit merger, Hawaiian and Alaska. How does do you have a kind of a take on the consolidation? Does it overall lead to more demand for planes or less?
Yeah, I don't think it'll move demand for aircraft much, but I think it'll make the airlines stronger. Airlines are so capital intensive, such massive operating leverage that scale is vital. And if you're subscale airlines, it's hard to compete with the really big players in the industry. So that'd be what I'd say more, Kelly, is that I think the benefits of the merger to the consumer are that there is more staying power. There's airlines that can compete with the four incumbents here in the U.S. market at any rate.
Gus, I'm curious from your perspective and what are you hearing from your customers when it comes to the Pratt & Whitney geared turbofan engine issues as Pratt & Whitney tries to work through that. A number of these engines have come off the plane. They got to be repaired, but it's going to take some time. How much is that impacting your customers in terms of their networks and their operations?
Phil, there are significant impacts. So first of all, you're going to have a lot of aircraft on the ground next year. These are expensive machines, $60 million machines, pilot costs, a lot of fixed costs in the airline around those aircraft. And they're not going to get delivery of the ones that they had expected to get. But from our perspective, what we see, the real solution here is that Pratt & Whitney, I believe, they will fix this issue, but it's going to take a long time. And it's going to be a bumpy ride. So what needs to happen for the airlines in the next few years is that Airbus and Pratt & Whitney have to sit down and say, we are just not going to be able to deliver as many airplanes as you want, Airbus. That just isn't going to happen because the airlines, they don't need another aircraft. If they have a $60 million machine sitting on the runway because the engine doesn't work, what they need is a spare engine. They need the engine that's on the wing repaired. All of this will get done in time, Phil, and everybody in the industry just has to step back, be it the owners of the aircraft like Aer Cap, the manufacturers like Airbus, the airlines, and the engine guys, and say, what's best for the long-term health of our customers? And that's going to require Airbus and Pratt to sit down and say, we need to come to an arrangement where we can manage the situation for our customers. Because just telling the customer you've got to buy another $60 million aircraft, another one, it's not going to end well for the customers. So that's the biggest challenge over the course of the next few years. And Pratt will get there, but it's going to take a long time. It'll take a year just to repair one of these engines. So that means that the aircraft's on the ground for a very long time, unless they can get access to spare engines or parts. And we're doing our best to help. As I said, we're extending aircraft with airlines. We're selling aircraft to airlines. Just this year alone, we will probably buy, sell, or lease 1,000 aircraft engines and helicopters. And Boeing and Airbus, but Airbus only produce 700 assets. So that gives you an idea of the level of insight we have to what's happening every day in the global industry.
Hey, Gus. Gus, I hate to cut you off, but I'm being told we're getting pushed up against a break. We're going to be watching this next year, and I know we'll be talking more. Gus Kelly, the CEO of Aer Cap, appreciate you joining us today and for some perspective on what's happening with commercial airplanes. Kelly, I'll send it back to you.
That was fascinating. Gus and Phil, please come back anytime. Super interesting to hear his candid take on what's going on with those engine problems and more. We appreciate it.